Yo, 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 what's up, everybody? Donnell here,
Mila here.
and this is La Vida Blended Podcast. Welcome.
Well, babe,
Mm-hmm.
did you know that the Google say remarriage after divorce is becoming more common?
Nah, I ain't even know.
Well, apparently, approximately 52% of divorced men and 44% of divorced women were likely to marry again within the 5 years of their divorce, according to the data from the National Survey of Family Growth. Now, to add a racial equity lens into it, I did a little bit more research.
Mm-hmm.
Well, the Pew Research Center said that white folks are most likely to marry after divorce than the Latino folks, Black folks, and Asian folks.
Now, hold up, because this is where I, I don't know, I feel some type of way about that.
Talk to me. Talk to me.
The numbers can be skewed, right? It's really interesting the numbers are skewed to have white supremacy win again. Um,
All right.
I'll say interesting, not surprising at all. But I think that's why you can't just have numbers alone. There's a lot of um there's got to be a lot of factors into that. Economics play into that,
Mm-hmm.
and we already know what economics have done to our community. Also, it's just cultural aspects. I mean, there's a lot of people of color who integrate lives and do everything a married couple does, but they might not be married on paper.
Right.
And I kind of got a bias against that because I think the government kind of gets into our relationships and sometimes to a point where
Mm-hmm.
we forget about the union and how that's really
Yeah.
like important. I mean, there was a time where you didn't sign a certificate to get married,
Right.
and you people still got married. So
Thanks for bringing that up. I think that that's really important. And I think this is, another whole different podcast episode, but I do think it's important to racialize things, right? Like I love data, I love what it paints and addressing gaps. And that's a major gap in research, right? Is that it's often through a white perspective, a white lens, and a specific type of religion, right? Because who gets to define what marriage is? And in this case, you and I are defining it by the law, right? Or however
yeah,
that is. We
unfortunately,
said yes, we said I do, and on paper it says marriage, and that's how we prove to get all the things,
I
right?
mean, we literally signed a certificate.
I know, huh? We still have that, and like we didn't send it to.
We did send our certificate in, folks.
Oh
We are
gosh,
legally
married
bound under the rule of law.
under the white people law. With that being said, babe, I digress. I did some research because I was curious because I know that on today's episode we were talking about you and I, baby.
Yeah, we gonna get into our origin story.
Talk to me. Tell me about it.
I mean, where should I start?
Let's bring up Omas Retreat at the University of Oregon. Go Ducks, forever we fly.
All
Let's do
right.
this.
Did you just make up a saying for the Ducks? I've never heard that in my life.
I think I kind of blended your
For
football team in my brain, even though I'm not
for-
that fan. I'm a 49ers fan.
I'm
Go
an Eagles
Niners.
fan, so you thinking fly Eagles fly, and you just put that on the Oregon
My,
Ducks. You could have said Go Ducks. You could even just said Go Ducks with a G, like. But you said forever we fly.
okay.
I gotta stay fly. I'm sorry, I got distracted. All right, y'all. Way back when, in 2004,
Dun, dun, dun.
there was this office called the Multicultural, or was the Office of Multicultural Academic Support. Shout out to y'all, University of Oregon. I don't think it is an office anymore. No, it changed names, and then I think it might cease to exist. That office really helped out a lot of students of color, instead, including myself.
Me
Me,
too.
there we go. So they had this retreat freshman year. Okay, so freshman year, if you were a self-identified student of color, you had the opportunity to go on this weekend retreat. Gives you an opportunity to meet some other students of color, get some new friends, do some stuff like that. So it was like on this campground and everything like that. I had a wonderful time. Crazy memories. It was fun. We played this game, Mafia. Uh, some of the counselors tried to have a water fight in the middle of the night, and they tried to sabotage me. All kind of stuff. It was like story time and joke telling and all this different stuff. And I'm just being me. All the energy and I don't know what to call it. All the energy that I am,
Mm-hmm.
right? All the energy that I've been
That
taught
Johnny
to,
Chocolate energy.
all the energy that I've been taught to be by my family.
Mm-hmm.
And I remember there was just like this one moment. I think you were trying to get on specifically. I think you were trying to do the zip line or something. You was over there. You was over by the zip line, and I was running from somebody in the water fight during the daytime. And I remember I ran, and then I don't know, I might have been yelling or laughing or something like that. And you looked at me with like disgust, like ugh. And I was like, well, dang, my bad. So that was my first impression of Mila. She
Oh
was a little
my.
cutie, but she was super quiet. And then she kind of non-verbally made it known that she didn't mix with me.
Yeah, you're not wrong. Absolutely. I remember that exact moment. Absolutely. Here's the thing. Let me just break it down for you, okay? And for
You
the
got some explaining to
listeners,
do.
I sure do. Listen here. I'm a Cali girl, right? I moved from Compton, Cali to Eugene, Oregon, out of all places, okay? So us like being out in the wilderness was not a thing. Matter of fact, I don't think I ever experienced going to the wilderness, okay? That was like 17 hours away from us. So that was the first thing that was weird. What were you going to say, Donnell? You
Uh,
had the look on your eyes.
I mean, they got the jungle in South Central, don't they?
Well, that's a
Oh,
whole
that
ass
might be a
different,
different type of
whoops, a whole different jungle,
a
babe,
whole different.
for
Okay.
another podcast episode. But you're catching on to the vibe here. So first of all, I was like, why are we in the wilderness? This is weird. Second of all, I'm like, I don't know these people. So why am I coming here? And I was like, okay, I need to get outside of my shell. Like it's close around my house. I should just go for it. Right. Third thing, I'm a person who's experienced, let's be real, a lot of childhood trauma, a lot of community violence. So my brain probably wasn't at the right place. Maybe. And maybe my facial expressions were very much of what was going on inside. Maybe?
So that happened for all 4 years though?
Okay.
I mean, I give you credit. I ain't trying to say you ain't go through nothing. Like you did. But all 4 years, I don't know. I don't know.
Okay, well, let me continue expanding then, right? Like, because you're absolutely right. I did have a resting bitch face. Like, I sure do. And that's the Aquarius to me. That's my vibe. It's like, if I don't trust you, if I don't know you, don't look at me, don't talk to me, etc. I get it. I get it. I know I had that vibe. And I would also say that the thing that was also happening to me at that time was that I was working a full-time job plus being a full-time first gen student and also living at home and supporting my family in many aspects of my life. And then lastly, and unfortunately, being in a very non good relationship, right? I was in a
Yeah.
relationship with somebody and it just was not a healthy one. And so my mind was not at the right place the majority of my time at the University of Oregon. So my safe place was my student union mecha and most importantly, my mujeres group. Those girls kept me going for all of those 4 years. Now, to discuss further my resting bitch face, along with like perhaps my looks towards you, also completely expanded to like, as student unions, we collaborated a lot,
Whole
right?
bunch.
We did a lot of things. So I saw you, I know that you saw me, and it's just that vibe about you. I was like, this guy is all about me, 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 me. Everybody look at me, 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 me. And thinking like I'm all that. And then at the U of O, black men were a thing about for white women, right? Like, and so then when I would see like the little bit of black men with the white women, I was like, ugh, there goes that again. So let's talk about that BSU ball though, where you won best dressed.
I ain't
What
got nothing to
amplified
say.
my emotions about you?
I ain't got nothing to say.
Yeah.
Players gonna play, haters gonna hate, and you hated on me.
Donnell showed up with his fly cape and his
I'm not Blackula. I did not show up with no cape. No cane. Yeah, like I'm out here pimping or something like that. Lordy gee. She put me in a players ball. It's the BSU ball, not the players ball.
Well,
Relax.
I showed up with my people because we showed up to support BSU because that's what we did. And then, of course, Donnie Chocolate, of course, had to win Best Dress.
Look, you act like I voted for myself. I ain't stuffed the ballots. I didn't campaign. I ain't do none of that. So,
Stuff the ballots. What are we in
I mean, people
1999?
had to vote.
Oh, I guess people still stuff ballots. My bad. We do too. Okay, my bad.
What?
My
Whoa,
bad.
whoa, 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 whoa. Did you just incriminate us? No, we don't. What are you talking about?
We send ballots in the mail.
Okay.
Sorry,
The
my
term
bad.
stuffed ballots is
Oh,
like putting a whole bunch of votes in that may or may not be credible. So
okay,
like for
okay.
like prom queen and king and stuff like that,
Okay,
sometimes they
my
get a
bad.
hold of a whole bunch of ballots and then they put they stuff it right with a whole bunch of votes for them.
Okay.
So placing your ballot is different than stuffing the ballot.
Thank you, Professor Adair. That's really helpful. This is a really good example of a blended situation, right? Sometimes I don't get my sayings correctly. With all that being said, I was hating on Donnell. I was hating. And at the same time, right? Like all like jokes aside, I can totally, looking back, completely address the fact that like, was I being anti-black? Was I not thinking through a racial equity lens? What about my face was describing, right? Like what was going on inside or not, right? And so
Oh, it
that's
wasn't
where
just your face. Because I had grown to become really, really close and good friends with all of your close and good friends who knew me pretty well. They
oh,
knew
for
the real
sure.
Donnell.
Oh, and I believe them. Again, it's just that I wasn't in the mindset of making friends or looking at people or whatever it was. It wasn't you. It was me.
I
Okay.
mean,
But again, as a non-black person of color, right? Like that's part of my job is to unpack all the things. Okay.
okay.
But I was hating on you. Period.
Thank you for finally admitting that. Thank you. Gosh,
uh,
y'all don't know how long I've been waiting on her just to say that.
and you know what? Our
She's
friends would
been
also
gaslighting
agree.
me for
Get out of
she's been
here.
gaslighting me.
Get out of here. Stop. Stop. You're so annoying. I know that there's some people on your side of your friends that would say, yeah, Mila, she's right.
Cause
Okay.
they probably got it too.
Right, Maria? Right?
First off, don't be calling on people in the podcast.
Okay. So, with all that being said, what happened next, babe?
We went our separate lives, and we both got married. Mila was married
Mm-hmm.
and divorced, and then I got married, had a child, and divorced. And this was my 29th birthday. So back in the day on Facebook, I used to write all the time, inspirational stuff, philosophical stuff, motivational, whatever you want to say. And in this one specifically, I was writing about how I felt good about that birthday because I had I had become better than I was the year prior.
Hmm.
And I listed out some roles, said a son, father, and I said a husband as well. And after a husband, in quotations, I said for the next time. And then somebody slid into my DMs, y'all.
I sure did.
Y'all,
I
she's admitting everything. Do you know how much she's like, I didn't slide into your DMs?
That's not true. I've always said that that's the truth, but it wasn't with the intentions that you think it is.
I didn't think nothing. I
I
thought
wasn't
you
trying to
was,
hit that at the time.
whoa, whoa, whoa. Relax. Next level. You sound like my parents.
Oh, I love your parents.
I know, but they be extra going to the next level. Nobody was even talking about that.
You said yes.
Not to everything. I said like an 80% yes. 85. I get 85.
Boy, bye.
At 15%.
I did slid in your DMs because at that time I didn't have your phone number, duh, because otherwise I would have just texted you. So instead,
No.
you know
Uh,
what?
what was your practice at the time?
Oh, my practice. Yes. Instead, I know like in the social service field, it's really important that you let people know when they've really impacted you. And so I learned that lesson at a very young age at my first job. And so I really wanted to let you know that your message was very impactful to me. And it really shifted my mood, my perspective on my birthday that was coming up on the 18th. And I did not want to plan for anything. I didn't want to do anything. I was like, you know what? This just let it be what it needs to be. But then I saw your inspirational message and I was like, yes, yes, thank you. I needed that. So that was my intention in reaching out to you. I said, hey, Donnell, I hope you and your child are doing okay. And that's when you disclose, well, actually, my son is doing well. And, I got a divorce. And I know that's the moment where I disclose to you as well, like, oh, shoot, me too. And I know that in that connection, I instantly felt like just like a positive energy from you that we were able to just relate to each other and the impacts that it had on us because at that time I was the only one among my group of friends that was divorced and I know that that was the same for you, right?
I mean, for a little bit, I was one of the few that was even married.
Oh, okay.
And so that was something that was kind of unique, even, oh, not so much in my, well, kind of in my family as well, maybe. I was
Mhm.
the only
Mhm.
person around my age that was married.
Absolutely.
And so um, it was somewhat, unique, but it was something that I was going through. It was pretty tough.
Right.
I'm like the oldest in a lot of ways, the oldest guy, eldest boy in my family, which means something. And so I was trying to set the example, different things like that. So I mean, that was difficult, not finding success in my first marriage. So, but
Mhm.
I hadn't seen Mila. I didn't even know she was married. I don't. I
Right.
think I might have seen her once, since in between graduation and her reaching out to me on
Mhm.
Facebook.
Mhm.
So at that time, had been about 2 years, and I was like
Mhm.
open to good energy.
Yeah.
I was ready for a serious relationship and ready to dip back into that.
Mhm.
I didn't necessarily expect it
Yeah.
when Mila reached out, but again, I was open to just positive energy,
Yeah.
right? And not even thinking about anything turning into a relationship.
And I was feeling the same as you. It wasn't even that originally. Um, because I've never, if you looked at the trajectory of humans that I've been, with, I have never had a type. But my type has always been like physically, I've always been interested and desired a very strong connection with somebody, a heart connection, a mental connection, outside of just the physical connection. That's always how I've always been. And so that's what I was able to get from you in our conversations and talking about divorce. It was hard and we unpacked it together. And then you were sharing what you had worked on, and I was sharing with you what I had worked on and how I was starting therapy and how therapy had been working significantly for me. And so that turned into
Is that what we talked about on Facebook
yeah.
on the DMs?
Yeah, because
Okay,
think about it, like we were messaging back and forth for a while.
like 2 weeks.
Right. We didn't share phone numbers at that time, and I think I didn't even think twice to message you, right? And people always ask me like, "Oh, like how were you brave enough?" And I'm like, "I again, like there was no it was like I just wanted to let you know."
So
And
you wasn't
so
reaching out,
with that
like,
intention
yeah.
of like, "Ooh, no, it wasn't that." So with that being said, we talked for 2 weeks on Facebook about a lot of things, right? And a lot of it was like healing and divorce and how your kid is doing and what you were into recently. And then you said,
Yeah. She asked me this story about this trip I went to in Alaska with my dad and stuff like that. And I was like, I really want to tell you the story, but I think I wouldn't be doing it justice. Probably would have to tell you over the phone or in person.
with his sexy voice too.
No. Okay. All right.
That's
So
his
then I,
mommy
I put
chocolate
my
voice.
number in there too.
And then we were text messaging and met up for coffee. And it was like a random day that I had, I think it was a holiday. We both had off and we met at our coffee spot, Forever and Ever Amen in North Portland. And we sat there and talked forever for what felt like forever, but it
We
didn't feel long.
we talked for a long time. It felt long to me because I was hungry. I ain't gonna lie. I was finna die. Like I had eaten before, but it was
It was a
uh,
long period of
it
time.
was a long time. Yeah,
Yeah,
it was a long time, and so so I didn't faint. I didn't want to faint, and so I didn't want to end the date, or well, what had become kind of a date.
right.
It really wasn't a date. I was just like, hey, what you doing
Yeah,
on President's Day? Like, let's meet
yeah,
up. Let's go get some
right.
coffee. I drink tea, but
I
let's go get
know.
some
And then that
coffee.
turned into a whole different conversation. I was like, who doesn't drink coffee? And mind
Oh, I
you,
need more coffee. I need more energy.
but that's true. True. You know what? I'd never thought about that. Oh my gosh, I cannot even imagine you with coffee. Well, actually, now that we know that you have ADD and, that helps my perspective. All that to say that what I skipped was when I walked in, little Mr. Donnell with his little book and his highlighter and his little sweater, and he's looking all like fancy smanchy. And
I don't know how I was supposed to look. I should have just came in raggedy.
no, I
Mm.
I was in my work clothes. I was in jeans,
Well,
Converse.
I mean, work is different. Like at that time, I was working in banks, and I was working
Sure, that makes sense.
like
So like the perspective
handle
of
all like dress up, all kind
yeah.
of like not even like well business casual, but like slacks,
Yeah, I
not even
mean, and
jeans.
don't get me wrong, like I wasn't looking like that either. I was dressed enough to be able to feel comfortable enough to see you. With that being said, I was like, okay, I see you. I'm gonna go grab some coffee, and then I said, would you like something? And he said, oh, I'm getting some tea, and I was like, oh, I'll pay for it. And you should have seen the look of his face because he was like, wait, what? And one of the things that people know this about me as well, or people that dated me. Like, I'm not for gender norms, like, at all. Like, I'm very much interested in going outside of the binary all the time, all the time. And as the oldest, as like a person who was, in Catholicism, no longer in that anymore, um, I have to represent a specific type of way. And I was like, no more. I need to break all these generational curses and traumas. And matter of fact, I don't have to show up that way. I can be who I am regardless of what people think. So I was like, let me get you your tea. And because again, I don't necessarily believe in men doing all the shopping, right? Period. So we went to have dinner. And what happened there, babe?
Well, you we went and had dinner.
Mm hmm.
Went up the street to Porque No. We
Whoop,
left
whoop.
Fresh Pop. We was up off of Mississippi,
Mm hmm.
and we then began talking and talking and talking, and then at the end, I was like, "So when we doing this again?"
Yep.
And Mila was taken aback. I was like, "I wasn't gonna just be all timid and everything like that. I was suggestive. Now she had
Mm
every right to
hmm.
say no
Mm
or
hmm.
whatever, and
Mm hmm.
s- there's that. But I knew what I knew. We was
Yeah.
vibing.
And I
We was
think that
feeling good.
that's what I was really attracted. You were very confident. And it wasn't like cocky confident. You were confident. You're like, hey, I am really liking this. When are we going to meet up again? It wasn't like you being shy and weird and being this awkward thing. It was like, hey, I'm really into you. Let's do this again. And what he's also neglecting to mention is how he often talks about that on this first meetup, I was interrogating the living daylights out of him. You missed that part.
I mean, yeah, but it happened. Mila, Mila, Mila be asking questions, and I'm thinking we about to come up and just chill, have some talk. Maybe not necessarily small talk, but like just talk. Not Mila. Mila's like, tell me your deepest, dark, most innermost secrets. Tell me all the details about this. Tell me all the details about that. Then she started asking me all these questions about me as a partner, my previous relationship, and I think Mila has green eyes, light green eyes, and there was a moment we were talking, and I can see her pupils, and her pupils were wide, and because I'm a spy, and we're not in like a significantly dark place, right? And because I'm a spy, I know that when your pupils dilate,
Okay.
you're looking at something you like. So I was like, I see you, I see you seeing me. So I then it kind of hit me because I wasn't going into that at
Mhm.
first with that intention. I was just trying to meet up
Mhm.
share good energy, whatnot. And then I was like, oh, she kind of liking on the brother, you know what I'm talking about?
You're right. I there was a moment I think in our conversation where I was like, wow, like he is an incredible human who is very much loved by his community, who's done a lot of internal and external work, who's a great father. And I remember thinking like in my head, I'm like, gosh, like what am I doing? Like, am I starting to like this guy? Mostly because I have to really name the fact that, like, I was not interested in dating men with children. Like, that was not something that I was willing to do. And then in that, like, you should have seen, like, my brain working and because I'm an Aquarius. I'm an INFJ. That's my personality trait. And I knew, like, at that moment, I had to really consider what does compromise mean to me, knowing that I'm a person who's willing to go outside of the binary often. Right. And so, in that, yes, I was like, okay, yeah, I'm willing to meet with you again. But I was also in that moment really thinking about how blessings aren't packaged in all the ways that you think they're going to show up, right? And so when I was single and trying to mingle, I was really thinking I had a specific mindset of what I wanted and what I didn't want, mostly because unfortunately divorce does that to you. You become very refined on what you want versus what you don't want. And it was like a slap in the face, right? Because I was like, "What am I doing?" Like, I actually really am attracted to this person, his heart, his mind, and his who he is in totality, and that I needed to remind myself that the compromise wasn't settling. It was my desire and willingness to go outside of the binary in his vulnerability, and, that's why I also chose and said yes. Now the interrogation, let's unpack that for a hot
Hold
second.
on, hold up.
Oh, oh.
Because, yeah, I think the same kind of, for me, was stepping outside of whatever maybe image I created in my head. Because, I mean, you were the first person you're the first person I've dated who wasn't at least half black.
Wow. Yeah, I
Yeah.
remember you saying
And
that.
so my ex-wife is black, and she's a great person.
Mhm.
We didn't work out. I'm not none of that passport bro. I didn't run away from black women. I'm not. No, it wasn't any of that. What wasn't really important to me was trying to find another person who things might work out with, right? And we can, we'll go into more details about,
Mhm. More to
how
come
to
on
look,
that.
yeah, how to look for a partner and different things like that, and what to look for in a partner. But I think the big thing I really want to leave my first marriage with is just working on myself.
Yeah.
Like I
We
didn't,
talked a lot about that.
yeah, I mean, it always takes two to tango. At the same time, I needed to focus on what I did well, focus on the things that I could have done better, take ownership of that, and work on that, and be a better partner. Because if you leave a extended relationship or a long term relationship, get divorced, and you go into looking for another relationship with a person who's just either polar opposite or meets all your shortcomings, you're still going to run into the same problems.
Absolutely.
You will, and so working on yourself is super important when it comes to that.
I think that that's you're hitting on something very important. It reminds me of like how we often in those initial conversations we talked a lot about how we were monitoring our intuition versus our fear, right? Because we talked about how intuition, you know, flows and expands. It doesn't feel suffocating versus like the fear. It feels like somebody's stabbing you with claws and that suffocation is real. And so I know for me, that was a noticing that I had of you, but mostly about me. Like,
Well, yeah, you deal with that fear versus intuition
mhm,
differently than I do. I lack fear sometimes, or a lot of times, when even I should have more fear. But um, yeah, I mean, I guess my main concern was just the blending of lot. You hear that blending
mhm,
of oh, I be the
La vida
blending.
blended.
Um, yeah, my main concern was like, okay, so if I'm going to be serious with this person, how how do our lives collide?
Right. Like what you're really are saying is like, how does race play in all of this? You
Hmm.
know what I mean? Like we did have those very important and necessary conversations. Like you were very direct when you asked me, how does your community or family feel about you dating a Black person?
Yeah,
Right. And I had the same thing with you. And we had very open and honest conversations. And I know that.
stay tuned for more details on that.
Yes, and I know that a huge part of that of like moving forward and being committed with each other was because we were both very open and direct, which is why my questions feel like interrogating-ish, but it's also like for no it's my INFJ, right? Like I get bored with small talk. I don't like talking about the sky is blue. Look how beautiful the sky. I'm like I'm if I'm going to engage with you in a conversation, I want it to be meaningful. I want to get to know you. I want to be able to understand what type of human you are. So yeah, like that's also the reason why like I ask a lot of questions and in that I gauge if that person is comfortable or not. So with you, I gauge he's hella comfortable. I'm going to continue asking questions. Period.
And she'll judge you if you don't answer the questions, though. That's what she's leaving out. That's the
Judge you.
INFJ, the J
Get out of
part.
here. That is not the definition of that.
Uh,
Anyway,
it is actually.
okay, it's not about being judgy wudgy.
No, I'm just saying that the letter J for the
It's
Myers
judgment.
Briggs,
Yes, I
exactly.
know, but it's not that definition. It can get convoluted. That's for another day because what he's also not saying is that I had him read that book of no, 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 we did the test and then we unpacked that
That's come
together.
on. That's other stuff.
That's other stuff, but it's cool.
No,
We did it. He
we'll
did
get
it.
it.
He did it too.
We'll get it.
Anyway, any hooser, all that to say, right? What else happened, babe?
Well, then we met up at the hot cake house.
Okay.
I couldn't talk, and Mila could, and then we decided to be serious with one another. We decided to be boyfriend and girlfriend.
What he's like being shy about, he's really shy right now. And Donnell is not shy. He's not a shy person, but he's being so shy right now. I wish people would actually see his face right now. So what ended up happening was that
I'm
we met up.
smiling, everyone. I don't know why.
Oh, yeah, right. He's being a little shy and nervous
What
about this.
you tell us about it? What happened in your view?
So we got to the hot cake house, and before we walked in, he actually was this before or after you sang to me?
I don't know.
Oh my. See, he's nervous still. Okay. Anyway, he sang a cappella, thought that was very sweet, very adorable. He was so nervous. He was like shaking. It was cute. He was vulnerable. I was like, wow, like he was willing to do all of this in the heat because what AC was off. I had no idea what he was going to do. So we were both sitting there in the hot car.
I mean, it was like February. It wasn't
It
hot.
was hot. I was sweating. You were sweating.
Me,
It was a
what?
whole thing.
Okay, all right. You
Anyway,
always hot, hot.
I
I'm
am
hot.
always hot. Um, and so we go in and I know what he's trying to tell me, but it wasn't coming out of his mind, like out of his head, out of his mouth. It was just like he kept like fumbling through his words. And I was like, okay, I got this.
A lot of nerves. One of the few times, one of the very rare times where I can't come up with the words.
Right. That's real because you always got something to say. And
You got something to say about that?
I just said it. You always have something to say. And I noticed that and I was like, okay, I got this. Let me tell you what I think.
Mm.
And that's when I was like, all right, I see what you're trying to say here. I know you like me. I know I'm good. Look
Nah,
at me.
you let up to it first. It wasn't just like I just came out and was just like, hey, yeah, no, Mila, she was doing her questionnaire thing.
And Mila thing.
Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
totally. Of course. We didn't just get there and do that, babe. That's not what I was saying.
And she was like, I'll get up from this table right now if you don't want to be with me because I ain't playing.
I mean,
I
kind
quit
of.
school because of recess because
Here's
I don't play.
kind of. I was not in the mood to play. Either we were in it or we were not. And that was cool, right? Like I was very honest with you at that time, like that I had, miscarriage problems. I had infertility problems. I had, still some dynamics in my family to manage. Like I'm the oldest. I usually have to be the caregiver of many things. Like I threw it out there. and so did you. So then we were both in the clear, like, this is who we are. And so then I said,
Well, we had learned enough, but go ahead.
well, yeah, like, that's why we got to that point,
Hmm.
duh.
Go ahead.
And I said, like, I see things in you that I really like. And I think we could be good together. I think we should be getting together.
Y'all should see the hand motions that she even doing right now. But the hand motions she was doing at the table when we were at the restaurant, it's like, I think, and I was like, yeah.
And then I said, and then I laughed. And then I was like, okay, cool.
And then I was able to get over my nerves or process my nerves, and then it was cool. And then we just
We
chilled and
ate.
listened to some music, walked the
Mm-hmm.
waterfront, went up to Rocky Butte. You
Mm-hmm.
know,
And that was it.
that was it. That's how that was the start, and that was only the start.
Right. That was only the start.
Only the start. So I think we did it.
And I'm very proud of us and how far we've come, right? Like again, I think we were willing to compromise and consider it that it wasn't settling. And I also think that we were really open to the blessing that was in front of us. I also think that we did a pretty darn good job at monitoring our fear versus our intuition, right?
Hmm.
And that's why we're here. I also really appreciated the fact that we are here today and we're there that day because of our community and the people that loved us and put energy into us during our divorces and after, right?
Hmm.
And and I also think that you had a mindset of continuous growth
Yeah.
and so did I.
Yeah. Well, again, we will talk about that. And for clarification, when I said we did it, I didn't mean like sex. I meant like I was trying to wrap up the
I was
podcast,
like, what
and
is
then
he
Mila still
talking
had
about?
more to say. I'm like, oh, okay, I thought we were done with the podcast, but anyway,
Well,
we're
the
done
way
with
that
the
you said it,
episode.
I was like, yikes, I'm going to try to circle
Yeah,
this.
I no, yeah,
Anyway,
clarification.
with all that being said, we've worked really hard. It sounds like all of a sudden done done easy. It's not, but it's always worth it.
Always worth it, y'all. So, I hope you took something from this. If you are single and looking for somebody, there's hope.
Absolutely.
Always inviting good energy, whatever, however you define it, is really important. Deciphering that difference between intuition
Fear.
and fear. Yeah, that's really important. Um, Also, for those of you who are maybe already be married, hey, this is an opportunity for you to kind of reestablish some things, relearn each other,
Mm-hmm.
because you're still together, and that process is forever. And so that if you feel like there's some things that maybe you missed, then you have that opportunity to continue that process or restart that process or rekindle and get back to that process so you can figure out how to create more harmony in your relationship. So,
Absolutely. With that being said, La Vida Blended.
all right, stay mixy, y'all.